Where?
Welcome, everybody, to our Synapse Philosophy group. We're in D.D. Palmer's 1910, and we're at the bottom paragraph of 79, page 79. There's a lot of good things in here. We were just discussing, it's meaty. And what happens often is people, and including me, we get confused a little bit about what D.D.'s doing. This is the chiropractor's adjuster, adjusting us back to true north. Hey there, Dave Sarnoff. And
hey guys, I love you.
Love you, brother. He's adjusting us. So what he does is go through what another chiropractor has said, and then he corrects it. And right now he's talking about a lot of the suggestive therapies. And there's stuff like that right now. It's very prevalent in chiropractic of why it is not part of chiropractic. But people read this very often and said, D.D. said it's part of chiropractic, but it's not. He's saying it isn't, and he corrects them. I even hear people quote all the time, and I think he says it on the next page about a reduction. I hear that on stage all the time, reduction. And D.D. said an adjustment or a subluxation is not a reduction, okay? So people misquote things all the time. We're not going to let that happen. We're going to set the story straight, and that's what we're all here for. So, and then what we were also talking about, maybe later on, and I think maybe after this chapter, because there's a lot here, is getting into Stevenson's again. We did the normal complete cycle. We've done the freshman text, and I think it's time for the senior text. I think we've all had, a good bit of experience, and we should get into the senior text. And I have that outlined pretty well already. And
I have a question for you guys, even before we read.
Yeah.
With suggested therapy, I was under the impression D.D. was referring to it as something for the treatment of diseases. But is suggestive, do we want to take out the mental aspect? I thought that's what the philosophy is about too.
Remember about being a clear and hollow vessel. I don't do the adjustment. And Nate does the adjustment. I deliver a force, and Nate is doing that adjustment. And if my educated says, I want you to heal your liver, I want you to heal your liver, that's coming from me as an educated. And we're
what about suggesting or accepting the idea that my body's a self-healing organism?
Beautiful.
That's it. Isn't that suggestive?
Well, I think there's a whole side discussion there. D.D. is clear in this, that at least in this chapter, that he does not accept suggestion at all. But I think that, and as we know, our knowledge has evolved since then, and it may be part of that we're dealing with. But I think also we can look at it, at least in part, in terms of constructive and destructive survival values, and things that are said can be taken one way or another. And you can have things, and we now think about negative thoughts affect us and positive thoughts affect us. And so I think that's a possibility, but at least in this context that we're reading right now, D.D. says, no. And he's adamant about it. And so one of the questions I posed to Haig a few minutes ago was that, when does autosuggestion, because there's later on, there's talk about trauma, toxins, and autosuggestion, which later evolved to thoughts, toxins, and traumas, the 3 T's. When does autosuggestion become an accepted part, but not where we're reading now? Clear right now, it's no.
Yeah. But in your mind, there is a place for knowing and accepting that your body is a self-healing organism.
But
yeah, and patients have to be reminded of that at some point, I guess. Right. We accept it, but we have to remind them that, because they're so inculcated by medical thoughts of their entire lives that they think that something else has to fix them.
I just think that when I hear to eliminate the chiropractic is not suggestion, I have a problem with that, because I think a lot of chiropractic is also placebo. Well, and not to lessen placebo, but to actually increase the placebo effect.
he talks about placebo in just a minute. It talks about adjusting infants. We're going to get to that one in just a moment. But I think we're
All right.
talking.
I was just wanting to know what you guys thought about what I'm saying.
Let's break it up into portions now, from before the adjustment, during the adjustment, and after the adjustment. If I'm telling you or educating you about the power of the chiropractic adjustment, the effects of a subluxation, the body heals itself, wherever we want to put that. But at the moment of delivery, I feel what he's sort of getting at here is that we're clear and hollow vessels. And it's not coming from me or any of my educated. And that's where the hard work comes from. And that's why I think BJ wrote 27 books or whatever it was that BJ wrote, that of being clear with our innate and outside of educated. Because if it's, I want to fix your liver, I want to fix your sciatica, it's coming from my educated. And I go right back to the story of my mother's, whose kidney was healing from a shriveled up prune to 8 centimeters in functioning. Her sciatica was terrible. It got worse and worse and worse. And I wanted to therapize her and get her out of that pain. God forbid I was focusing on the pain, but her kidney was actually healing. So we don't know what innate's job is truly doing at any point.
Of course. I mean, that's obvious. I think it's also obvious. I mean, BJ wrote the book, The Bigness of the Fellow Within. I think our stressing the bigness of the fellow within, if you don't want to call it suggestion, okay, but it is, part and parcel of what we do.
Well, you can't suggest to the fellow within. The fellow within knows it all already.
There you go. I think Alan they hit the nail with the hammer. That's the one right there. I'm not smarter than your innate. And neither I'm not smarter than my own innate. My innate created the cosmos. It's just currently creating me as well right now.
Okay? Yeah, well, crediting the power of the bigness of the fellow within, I think, is part and parcel of chiropractic.
Well, yeah.
Why can't the innate remove the subluxation?
That's all that does.
Limitations of matter. And maybe she does remove 95% of them and leaves 5% for us chiropractors to do.
I look at it as this way. That's a communication from innate asking me to help it. Adjust me here. You know how to read the code. Here's the subluxation. You know how to read it. Help me. 17% or whatever percentages, Dwayne might know this answer, of the subluxations are from the outside, exogenous. Happen from trauma, what have you. And then the rest come from, or endogenous, come from within.
Right on.
I think it was 17%. There was a study. All right, anybody ready? I'm ready. We're going to read this first part. Now we got Logan here. We can rock and roll. With Marina here, life is good, all right? His mother was known as a magnetic healer. Chiropractic was an outgrowth of that system. His development has been of such a sportive character that there is now but little resemblance between him and his mother. However, he has never seen fit to adopt suggestive therapeutics as a foster parent or allow himself to be passed as her twin or even as a traveling companion. You think suggestive therapeutics and chiropractics all sufficient exogenous aid? Thus it is. Each person who has a pet method desires that we adopt it into an assistant to chiropractic. This science, now 15 years of age, when a student takes it and comprehends a course of instruction under its founder, he will not need any vibrators, orthopedic appliances, or osteopathy as assistance. Neither will there be any need for depriving the system of cranial or sympathetic nerves in order to get direct mental impulse. In quotes, the operator will succeed in curing all those who will accept the treatment, end quote. Chiropractors are not operators. Neither do they give treatments. So he was negating that. Webster says of operate, medical take the appropriate effects of a human system. Danielson says of operation, the application of instruments to the human body with the view of removing disease. For the difference between treatment and adjustment, see article on chiropractic versus therapeutics. We'll get to that. Come here, William. Get in the front seat of the bandwagon. I do not like to see you hanging on the end gate. Now here we go.
He's talking to Carver there. He's talking to Carver there.
He was talking to Carver, exactly. Thank you for that clarity. Now, this is where we're going in with the, this is where we're going next. Chiropractors adjust infants who are too young to comprehend suggestion, or perhaps all old enough to get their backs up when we adjust their backbones. They adjust insane persons who have no comprehension of what we desire to do. They replace the luxated vertebra, take off the pressure just the same. Free the nerves from impingement and allow them to perform their functions unmolested in a natural manner. All right, I'll take a break there for a moment. Okay. Anybody have any insights or like to express something? What do they feel there?
I think there's a mystery involved here.
And what's the mystery?
The mystery is, how does healing happen? When we adjust an infant or a dog, there is I don't know how much of it is physical, and I don't know how much of it is intentional. I really don't know that.
Well, I adjust a lot of babies. And mostly, you know, you think about a newborn, just being present and being clear. I don't talk a lot. I'm just with that child. And for me, I try not to think of anything, and I'm clear and hollow vessel, deliver that adjustment, and ask innate where it guides me to adjust that child. And that innate that's a pure innate. Go ahead, Dwayne.
So if you allow me to share my screen, I found a reference that speaks exactly to this point.
Okay.
It is 1942, The Law of Cause and Cure of Dis-Ease by BJ.
Do I have to allow that? How do I do that? You got it.
So
Go.
that is the cover, and we're all familiar with this diagram number 4 from Stevenson's.
Yeah.
Yep.
On this book, he goes on to talk about where subluxation happens. But what I want to get to is this one, where innate intelligence actually communicates to other innate intelligences and other beings.
Cool.
And this is what we've been talking about without a diagram. So this is diagram 6 from 1942. So he diagrammed here what we experience when we're in close relationship with anybody, even including pets. Our innates are in sync with each other.
Yeah.
That's what I'm calling the mystery.
Beautiful. Can you post that on our page, on the Synapse page? Do you mind posting those so we can have those to reference later on?
Yeah, I'll do that.
That's awesome.
It's out of a big presentation I did for our association, but I will cut those 2 pages out for you.
All those are great. I'd love to read through them. I'm pretty sure I have that. I see them somewhere. I'll just tell you a story about today. I adjusted a family, and a 2-year-old and his newborn brother had the exact same subluxations today. And we talked about that, how they're connected, so spiritually connected. The boy was 2. He's not thinking about subluxations or a backache. The newborn was born 4 weeks ago or something. They didn't tell each other what to subluxate. And the exact same vertebra. I even put the mother's hand on both of them and said, "Can you feel that?" So I think that's where Dwayne, that diagram goes. That's beautiful.
That's perfect too, because I think what brings this group together is a respect for this innate to innate connection.
Yep. Awesome. That's right.
That's why I keep showing up.
Love you, brother.
And it's not talked enough about in our profession. I mean, this is what Andy Roberts talked about. That the specificity of the adjustment is so much that it also includes the adjuster.
Right.
It includes the person delivering the adjusting thrust. It's not just the receiver of the thrust. It's that dynamic between the two. That's how specific the adjustment has to be. And we tend to ignore this connection.
Go ahead, Bob. That's great.
This is not something that is easily accepted by the ACA or those that are rejecting the vitalistic approach that we accept.
That's why we have to do it. Go ahead, Bob.
I think what Steve started talking about earlier about us having a self-healing capacity. If we are a philosophically based chiropractor, we know this, and so in knowing that, it has to come through our adjustment, even if we're not like intentionally making it come through. It's just who we are, and because it's who we are, it's what we do. And so I don't know if I would call it suggestion, Steve, but I totally understand that it's super important to be grounded in our philosophy, and which I think when Lamar, what's his name? The guy who wrote the new book that he said it's an art, it's a science, not a philosophy.
I don't read those books.
No. It's I'll come back to it later. Anyhow, he made a really good case for saying, our philosophy isn't really our philosophy, it's our science. And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense.
It does make sense. Yeah, I follow that.
To take you when you were saying a minute ago, one step further, what Dwayne and Haig, you were both saying, is that I always, somewhere along the line, somebody said it to me and it stuck with me, that every person that walks in your office is supposed to be in your office. You've already attracted them because you can help them. And that goes back to that same graph, I think, that you put up, Dwayne, that there's a connection, that innate is putting it out there all the time, and drawing the people into you that you can help. And there's nothing else to say there.
Well, I mean, that's exactly, I feel the same way. You're putting that vibration. Innate sees you as a connection, and you're guided by, that's a spiritual connection. And that goes right back to 1914, this is treated like a religious duty to care for the people because you've been guided together, right? And I want to just touch on what Dwayne was also saying right back to this, and Steve and everybody else, is that Pasquale used to say, and I actually said this at DE a couple of times, but Pasquale used to say, each adjustment we give, we also receive. We're receiving those codes. We're receiving those vibrations. That's why for me, it's really hard. I have an associate. I've had associates, but giving up adjustments for me, because in a way, I'm selfish. I want that too, because I'm also receiving from them. And I grow as they grow. And I feel that's very important for us as servers of chiropractic. Thanks for that.
My first chiropractor was a DCT practitioner, and he used to wear latex rubber bands around his wrists because he was taught that it would block negative energy from coming out of the practice member as you were working on.
I'll touch on that for a second. Pasquale, I've asked those questions in the past because massage therapists, they always bring that up. And he said, who are you responsible for? And really, it's me. I'm caring for that person. That's none of your business of what they're dealing with. it is none of your business if that person's healing. I can adjust them. Innate still has to do the work. Taking that on myself, that is none of my business of what their life is actually dealing with. If you look at it, it gets deeper in that the more you think about it. But yeah, that's,
You know, I did a weekend with Joe Dispenza, who's a chiropractor. And I just want to background this with Dwayne's, what he showed us on that diagram. The physical distance between the husband and the wife. How important is the physical distance? We have a problem here in that I don't want to take the hands-on out of chiropractic. However, is there a necessity of physicality or proximity with the that's what we do. It's the portal of entry. Go ahead.
Yeah, because we're dealing with interference of forces because of lack of matter, and so the only thing that can affect matter is another force. So there has to be that physical touch between people.
Well, the diagram between the husband and the wife is innate to innate. That is not physical.
No, but that's not affecting the correction of subluxation either. That's just a connection. So the innate knows what the other innate is needing and perceives.
I don't know. I think that love can adjust.
Well, there you go.
okay.
I mean, non-physically.
You know, that's, I guess, you know, what did BJ call that? A long distance adjustment? Or did he say, BJ mentioned that. I don't forgot what book it was in.
This is a problem,
He
though.
called it remote adjusting.
The remote
But
adjustment.
Can't you guys see that? I mean, I'm into it. I'm excited about it, but I can also see it's a problem for our profession now.
I follow you. I follow you on that 100%. And it makes a lot of sense. And, you know, I do a thing when I do innate adjusting workshops where we concentrate on, you know, a subluxation. I do like C2. And, you know, we all think about C2. And if their legs balance, right, they have a C2 subluxation. If it doesn't, then we're on the wrong vertebra. Let's try a different vertebra. We didn't adjust it, but we're asking innate to really guide me to where I need to go. That vertebra has not been adjusted. That's the way I look at it. But, you know, we've affected the system in some way by our consciousness. Remember doing that, Mason? So, yeah, that's interesting stuff. We got a lot of good things out here. Anybody else?
To further go into that, if innate connection can affect the correction of subluxation, then innate can by itself correct it from the inside out without the external forces that is the adjustic thrust. So I still think there has to be that physical connection for the vertebral subluxation.
I tend to agree with that. Like we haven't, I don't think we're at the point where we are adjusting our masses from our thought. I think we can make change through energetic thought. They've shown that, Masamori Emoto, the messages of water and all those different things. But are we going to make a structural change?
Don't we, when we go to sleep at night, adjust ourselves, or do you not want to call it that?
I don't know. I mean, is an adjustment, is it interaction between two people? I mean, I do mission trips in Brazil, and I didn't have anybody to adjust me. And I went to my wife's church in Fortaleza, and we did a prayer to guide us and, you know, please clear me of subluxation so I can serve at my best. And as I just moved my head, I have never heard my own neck adjust right at my atlas. And I tell you, I was the clearest I may have ever been after an adjustment. And it just happened, right? I asked for that in my prayer. Was that an adjustment? I say it was. There wasn't any physical contact, Can I do that all the time? I've tried to do it again, and I haven't been able to repeat it. But, I'm just a simple being right now. Maybe we'll become more complex as we lift the veil of ignorance of the spiritual side, like Dee Dee said.
Well, I think where we're at now is people need to feel the physical touch. And because that's where we're at now, because we're so identified in the physicality of ourselves, that this is our meeting place.
And it's beautiful
So,
to be touched.
Yeah.
I don't rule out that there's been times when I've seen physiological changes in somebody in front of me just as I've talked to them. So, and I don't rule out that there aren't. I don't know if I can call it an adjustment, because I think an adjustment is a physical. Well, it's not physical necessarily, because an adjustment is putting in a force. Well, it is. That makes it physical. It's a force that's being entered. Although in the books they talk about force is what's transmitted, but not that can't be interfered with, but can only be it can be interfered with, diminished or accelerated, but not impinged or stopped. But so there is an effect that we have on people without necessarily touching them. But I think that there's the majority of the time there's limitations of matter is what requires the hands-on adjustment. That innate is perfect in the matter, and maybe, as Haig says, trying to reach out to me as a chiropractor, and for the person, if Haig looked at him and 5 minutes later, he might see something else, because the innate could talk to him, the innates could communicate differently, and he might have different access than I did. But there's still, the physical is required the vast majority of the time, although there's certainly the possibility of the non-physical corrections as well.
And I feel
harder to validate.
The non-physical is the hardest work, where the chiropractor, like, I just go back to being a clear and hollow vessel, that's where our practices come in. That's where the hard work comes in, is that I'm not thinking of paying my bills, or the argument I had with the person that was just before me. I had a woman that hasn't paid in a year. Nobody told me about it today, actually. And I had to say it was done. And you have to start paying today. And it was weird. And then the next person that comes in, I have to be 100% for that person, right? So the work to me is being clear that you're getting 100% of me and not my whatever is within my consciousness. I think that's what we're all kind of getting at. Dave Sarnoff, I could see your face. You might have something to say now.
Ray Omid told me one time, he says the four most important things in this order are your philosophy, your why, what you do. The second is, like you said, your state of mind management, being able to go into one room and the person hasn't paid you for a year, or their daughter or mother just died, and then go into another room and then their daughter or son just had valedictorian. And then number one would be philosophy. Number two would be state of mind management. Number three would be the ability to communicate with somebody. And then number four would be your technique. And I found that interesting, that your technique is the least significant out of those four things.
I would agree with that 100%.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Don Epstein's work and then Sue Brown's work and stuff like that, I think it's the intention of the person delivering the adjustment, and it's and how that person receives it, And I think a lot of that we've known even before we got into chiropractic school, that communication is only a couple percent verbal, and it's just about that vibration. And what Steve said, how what we're talking about here doesn't jive with the public. I like how deep we go here, and it gives us a sense of and I'm not saying Steve's wrong, I'm not disagreeing with him, but I think that the amount of energy that how deep we go on these green book studies, it gives us this super shield, so then when people see it, it exudes confidence and trust and certainty. And when somebody looks at us, I feel like because of all the Monday I'm on Miss Paula's and Marilyn's call. Tuesday I do my Band of Brothers, then Tuesday with you guys at 8 o'clock, then Tuesday night at, you know, with the DE call, and then Wednesday I'm dipping, Thursday I'm dipping. I got Fred Barge's book there, and I'm dipped, man. You know what I mean? And like I feel like I'm talking to people less, and it's less about the words and it's more about my intention. I mean, I'm just, you know, it's I think staying connected, and I'm just so grateful that we have this, you know?
Yeah, you know what, you guys, it's like you can talk to your wife who's in California over the phone, and it's beautiful, and I love you, dear, and you hang up. It ain't the same as when she's in the bed with you, kissing you.
That's for sure.
There still is a difference.
Yeah.
But maybe, but you know, so there's something mystical going on here.
When you know that you know that you know that you know, you don't have to tell anybody because they know. Period. Right? That's what we're doing here.
Yeah, you don't have to say anything.
They, Dave said that right there. Go ahead.
Hey, Tom Miller, you on here?
I see somebody named Tom here.
Tom, is that you, Miller?
All right, so we're going to move on, okay?
I'm there.
Yeah, there he is. Tom, how do you feel about that? You've been getting dipped as much as I have. You've been at DE. You've been, like, don't you feel like you're saying less? And, you know, we talk about it all the time.
Yeah, I think that what's been happening is ever since I started getting back to DE, and when we were, when Dave and Marty Brown and I started getting together doing our Band of Brothers Tuesday afternoon get-togethers, I just feel more connected. I feel like before, I felt like I was out there just floating, man, just floating somewhere. Didn't know what the heck I was doing. I remember years ago being at DE, going to DE, listening to Dr. Sid. And that's when, when I first started practice, my life felt like it was just on fire. And then when I drifted away from that, started going through some of these other consulting business, people were doing consulting and stuff. I just felt like life was just leaving me, if that makes any sense.
Sure it does.
But man, when I started getting back here at DE, I just feel so connected now with my patients, and I feel so much power in talking about innate intelligence. And this lady came in the other day. I said, "Look, I just moved the bone, let God do the healing," and she just looked at me like she got it. Had a guy come to me today. He's a principal at one of the schools, and he had these problems. And I said, "Look, I can't tell you how." That we're here to heal anything. All I know is this: if we remove the interference that's caused by subluxation, your body's going to function better. And all you have to do is just stay in here and allow that to happen. And he just said, makes sense to me, So this is it's powerful stuff, and it works.
Absolutely.
Here's something beautiful, you guys. We know there's the spiritual, and we know there's the physical, but us chiropractors, we're living in both worlds. We're the link. We actually represent the link between the spiritual and the physical. The expression of the non-material through the material. That's who we are. We haven't abandoned the physical, and we haven't abandoned the spiritual, man. And BJ talked about that. You go in the old days, you go to the spiritual guy for spiritual problems. You go to the physician for physical problems. So we maintain our place. Our heads are in the innate and our bodies are on earth. And we're doing what we do. We are the link. And that we're a bunch of weird people here together. And I love you all for that.
You quoted Dee. He said that on somewhere on page like 400 and something about physicians deal with the physical. Chiropractors deal with the physical and the spiritual. Awesome.
That was I think it was Descartes in the 16th or 15th century that said that separated that, and church got the spiritual and physicians got the physical. It's interesting because prior to that, right, you talk about the shaman and the healers were all the spiritual people were the healers. And Didi even talks about that at the end of this section on page 100, talks about that the principles are 1,000 years old, but that it's new in today's world.
Absolutely, because people have put all the marketing has convinced them of such, right? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we did a lot.
Get to the next paragraph.
What's that? It's the next paragraph.
The next paragraph, because it goes to that.
All right, should I read that last one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to finish up page 80. I do not know whether you give suggestive therapeutics a place in chiropractic that it should and must occupy. Dee
That's a quote.
That's a quote.
Yeah, that's from Carver.
That's from Carver. Now this is Dee. Such suggestions do not suggest to a chiropractor. They are like the tinkling of an empty tin can. He does not give it nor any other therapeutical method a place in chiropractic. To do so would be only a hindrance in the wheels of progress. Advocates of other methods are just as much in earnest and equality as anxious that I should use their favorite mode of treatment. I have looked the chiropractic adjustment rooms over and cannot find room for any other method. Nothing more is needed. I'm saying these with fervor on importance. Any remedy would be badly in the way, stumbling blocks of our students' advancement. No, thank you. I do not mix. I give chiropractic straight. That's where those words come from. If it were mixed with all the other methods offered, it would soon lose its identity.
Yeah.
Students who think
we needed to get to that.
We needed to get that. Thank you, Alan. Thank you. So remaining unsullied, it's why I'm doing this. Let's put it there. And everything else. And show up, do innate adjusting workshops, which I'm going to give a shameless plug for. August 7th, we'll be in Atlanta. August 28th, I'm at Parker. And we're doing BGI 2 at my office in November, okay? So those are my shameless plugs for today. I'd like to be at Sherman soon, so maybe we could set that up. All right. I love you guys. Anybody have any closing things they'd like to express?
I think it was important for us, and I wish more of the profession realized that that whole idea about straight and mix comes from 1910 from Didi. It's not, everybody talks about BJ and blames him or credits him either way for that, but in reality, it comes from the very beginning. It isn't latter day stuff.
No, this is page 80. I mean, we're just getting into it, Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you for reading that.
Thank you for guiding me to it. I meant to get that far. So we're going to finish through this chapter. We're going to get through a little bit more. This is a long one, but there's a lot of good stuff. I have some good notes. I may skip a little bit here and there. And if you guys make sure, if you want to send me some messages of where to go. But I've got some pretty good stuff. I marked it up pretty well. And like I said, probably a little bit later on, we're going to go and just get back into Stevenson's again and do the senior text. Because we've done the freshman text. We've done the normal complete cycle. The junior text, I think skipping and going to the senior text, we're all seniors here. We can get in there. Seniors in education. Let's put it that way. Seniors in education.
Hey, Dwayne, can we see that thing? Can we get that thing that you were showing online? I'd like to read some of that.
He's going to post it on the Synapse Philosophy page, right? Can you do that?
Am I part of that?
Did you join yet?
I don't know. I think you kicked me out twice.
Well, I try to. It's only the Hellions I do, but
three's a charm. So I'd like to read more about what he said about that.
Yeah, I'll have to dig that up because I got that from something and I can't find it right now. So, but those pictures I did post to the chat. I'll see. I don't know.
Okay, so next week we're back at the same time. Invite your friends. We're at the same time all the time. And God bless you. I love you guys. Dwayne, did you find it? You'll post it on there.
Yeah, I will.
Invite people to the page, to the Synapse page. It's where we communicate a lot, okay? Anything else?
Okay, then.
All right. All right, I'll see you guys next week. Love and appreciate you. Hi, pie. And I'll see you next time. See you on the other side, what Sigafus used to say.